This is Jeffrey Jones, also known as Triple J, coming to you with the Community Podcast. What we say community is only common unity. That is the tie between you and I. The tie for all, the tie that binds us, the tie that makes us, the tie that makes us whole. Thank you for being here with us for this common unity. Yes. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Common Unity Podcast. Really excited to have you here today because I have an exciting individual here today. Someone who's going to help you. Now, we talked about 4IR, and you understand a little bit about this job market and what's going on with it. But this individual is going to tell you about a field that's needing people, will always need people. It's a rewarding field. It can help you grow as a person, as an individual. It can help you grow professionally. And most of all, it can help your pockets grow too. So I'd like for you all to meet Mrs. Elaine Daly.
Hello. Hello to Mr. Jeffrey Jones, our audience. I'm glad to be here this evening. And hopefully something I will say will be able to help someone in the community and make your life better.
Well, I'm sure that's going to happen. But I'll tell you what, Mrs. Elaine Daly is one of those type people. She's very modest, doesn't like to brag on herself. And I love to brag on her. But I'm going to make her tell you some of her credentials. Can you do that?
Yes, I can. I'm a wife for 40 years to a wonderful man, Bishop Herman L. Daly. Was considered as the first lady of Outreach Community Center Ministries, mother to 3 sons, grandmother, and registered nurse since 1982, a family nurse practitioner, board certified since 2004, an humble servant of God. I do have an associate degree in nursing. I have a baccalaureate degree in science and nursing. I have a master's degree in science and nursing and / nurse practitioner's track. I have worked many years. Most of my years have been in a hospital setting. However, I have worked in a private doctor's office for the past 8 to 9 years. But prior to that, most of my profession was in the hospital. I love what I do. I'm a caregiver at heart, as most of my children and others can attest to. And I have a passion when it comes to helping people and helping them help themselves.
Now, listen, folks, that passion has always been there, and it comes through in so many beautiful ways that I just can't explain it. You just have to listen, and listening to her, you can tell that everything she's telling you right now is 100% true. And that's what I like about speaking with Mrs. Daly. She's always 100% true. When we talk today, I wanted to learn a little bit more about the nursing field. Can you tell me a little bit more about the nursing field?
Sure. Well, nursing, it takes a special person to enter the nursing field. First of all, you have to love people. You have to have a passion for people, and you have to be selfless, meaning that you put yourself on the back burner to take care of your patients. Nursing often starts in the home because you're taking care of your husband, you're taking care of your children, and that rolls over to the grandchildren and great-grands as well, which I also have great-grandchildren as well. But it's something that is really needed in our community to provide care for others. It's not a selfish type profession. It's one that is well needed. We all need nurses. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how I was influenced into going into nursing. I worked at a health center, and I worked in medical records. And I met some ladies of color that were nurses. There were some that were licensed practical nurses, and I'll get into the different types of nurses later. Licensed practical nurses, there were some that were registered nurses. And I was working in medical records and had decided to go back to school for medical records. And so I thought to myself, why go for medical records? And I'm doing that now without going back to school. So I would lunch with these ladies, and over time, I said to myself, these are just ordinary women, just like me. And I felt that they were no brighter than me. And if they're doing it, I can do it. So I consequently enrolled at MCC in a 2-year program. So that's how I got started. 2-year programs are very affordable, especially for single parents or struggling families. It's something that you can secure an education and still work on earning a bachelor's degree. You can still work while earning a master's degree or a doctoral degree if you should decide. And so that's the path I took. And it took me 4 years to get through the program because, as I said, I had other responsibilities, and loved every minute of it. It was very nerve-wracking. It was challenging. It was very stressful because the first year, if you're not successful the first year, you lose your spot and you cannot reapply to that school. If you can get through the first year and then you don't do well in a course in the next year, then you can just continue on. So thank God I got through and I was successful. And so I just continued on. But I love nursing. I've always loved helping people. And that was reflected in the care I gave. Patients they would give me my accolades, certainly while I'm here and could hear what they were saying. And I tried to give them my best. However, I would take care of my mom or my dad or family member, I give that same care to my patients as well. And they can feel you. They know that you're sincere about what you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you that is pretty good. And I want you folks to really pay attention to something that she just said. Now, 2-year programs, as she stated, can be very affordable. And that's a good thing because about the last 30 years or so, we've had this big push on secondary, post-secondary education. And what we're finding now is so many people that go to 4-year schools initially end up with so much debt that they're in debt for the rest of their lives, paying back student loans. But if you're doing things the way that she's explaining it, that won't happen to you. So instead of all of your money going back to the loan man, you'll have it for yourself. Now, one of the things that I'd love to know about, and I'm sure the audience would too, is what different types of nurses are there and what are some of the qualifications?
Okay, all right. So let's go through. You have what's called an LPN, a licensed practical nurse. Some people call them LVNs, licensed vocational nurse, and that nurse has less than a year of education. They teach them the fundamentals of nursing. They do a lot of clinical, but they work under the supervision of an RN. Now, LVN or LPN must take a license exam given by their state. My state would be New York. So they would take an exam given by New York State before they're licensed to practice. But they must work under the supervision of an RN. Now, then there's a 2-year associate degree nursing. As I said, you would go to community college generally, and it's much more affordable. And when you're done, you too would take an exam which would license you so that you can practice. And a 2-year degree RN will finish college without having all the debt. I had $4,500 debt when I finished with the 2-year degree. And so after the 2-year degree, 2-year degrees, oftentimes I worked as a bedside nurse. My first job when I graduated from I'm on a community college, which is a 2-year program. I worked on a cardiac step-down unit. What does that mean? That means that I'm taking care of heart patients. Um, it's a stable unit. Patients that are having chest pain often would come in. Once they're stable, will come in on this floor. And oftentimes they would have certain procedures like cardiac catheterizations. That's the gold standard test for coronary artery disease. So if we want to know that if you have coronary artery disease and you've had some chest pain, you're going to come in, you're going to receive this workup, but the doctor's going to do an angiogram or cardiac catheterization. They're going to inject dye into your groin, sometimes your arm, and take a look at your arteries. And they can look at the films and see if there are blockages. So this is the test that would diagnose if you need open heart surgery or not. So I've worked on a cardiac step-down unit for some time. Now, the next type of degree would be a 4-year degree. That's a baccalaureate in science and nursing. And so that generally takes 4 years of education. And you have some people that go part-time, wives, mothers. It depends on, your lifestyle. But generally, if you go full-time, it's generally a 4-year program. And that type of nurse can work at the bedside. They can work in leadership. They can work in research. It doesn't mean the 2-year RN cannot do a lot of the things a 4-year RN can do, but they do not have the skill set as a baccalaureate nursing when it comes to administratively type leadership roles. I have worked under the supervision of a nurse, charge nurse. I've worked as a charge nurse when I had a 2-year degree. But a 4-year degree nurse, you'll generally see them at the bedside, or you may see them in more of a leadership role. Then there are master prepared nurses. Master prepared nurses, generally, they do a lot of research, a lot of education, and also my particular field as a nurse practitioner, you can earn a master's degree and become a nurse practitioner, adult nurse practitioner, a family nurse practitioner, a gerontology, meaning elderly nurse practitioner. You specialize in elderly nurse practitioner, even psychiatric nurse practitioner. So adult nurse practitioner, a pediatric nurse practitioner. So there's all types of nurse practitioners. I myself, I'm a family nurse practitioner. So I can take care of the infant once they're born up until elderly, until God transitions that person. So family generally is needed because then that way you're dealing with a broader scope and you can do more. Nurse practitioner generally in New York State can work autonomously, but they like for you to have over 3,000 hours before that can happen in New York State. Other states, let's say Georgia, they work under the supervision of a physician. Granted, they may be out there practicing, but if they generally work under the supervision, meaning that a physician signs their notes. They sign their prescriptions, their name would be on their prescriptions. Whereas when I'm practicing, my name is on my prescription. Elaine Dealey, MSN, FNP, board certified, that type of thing. And then you have doctoral nurses. Doctoral nurses could be a nurse in education. You'll see the initials EDD, a PhD doctoral person. You will see PhD. And those people, oftentimes you'll see them, they'll be chairpersons of colleges. They'll be leaders in the hospital. We got some in Congress. They may not have PhDs, but there are nurses in Congress as well. So they make laws. They help make change, and needed change because if they've worked at the bedside and they know exactly what patients are going through, or they've worked in administration and they know a lot of the politics and hurdles you have to get over. It's important to have those people in Congress as well. So they do a lot of research. A lot of what we do when we're practicing medicine, we do it from research. We have to do research on, we use animals, obviously. They're using people to a certain degree, but you have to sign off on that. And hopefully, hopefully it does not present a danger to the individual. and they would go over all of that. So there's different types of nurses, and there's so many fields in which you can practice. You can find and it's something that you love. If you love children, you can do pediatrics. If you love working with maternity pregnant women, you can do obstetrics. If you love working in surgery, you can become a surgical nurse. So there's oncology, cancer patients, they need nurses too. So there's so many fields in which you can practice. So find your passion, find your love, and just go for it. I will comment one thing. I suggest that when people become nurses, women or men, find some, before you do anything else, get some experience. You're a brand new nurse. You don't really know anything at this point. You know enough you've gotten through the boards. So I'm not undermining that, but get in there and do some med surge. Get some experience. At least get a year under your belt. Then if you want to specialize, you can specialize. I did cardiology. That was my first job. After cardiology, I floated throughout the hospital. So I did oncology. I did gastrointestinal issues, stomach issues. I did pediatrics. I did surgical nursing. I did respiratory. So when I became a nurse practitioner, I was pretty well-rounded because I had worked in all these different capacities. So I felt like I was a force to reckon with. I was ready. And I thank God for that.
And I know you are a force to be reckoned with.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
And I know you are a force to be reckoned with.
Well, it's like I said, you have to have a passion for it. It's something that I love, and there you go.
Let's talk about something else that I know you love. I know for a fact that you are a very big advocate for single mothers and women who are trying to make it in this world. And I also know that you're helpful in your husband's ministry. How do you feel being the first lady, and what are some of the things you do within the ministry?
Okay, all right. Now, I do love helping others, and I do have a passion for single mothers because I was a single mother once, and I had 2 children before I married my husband. And oftentimes you need a support system. Now, granted, I have family, sisters working, busy, mother has a chronic illness. At the time, she since passed. So you definitely need help. And so I realized that God sent this lady my way. Now, I've had others that have intervened that have helped, but God sent a lady my way that helped me through school. What do I mean by that? My middle kid, I say middle kid now, but he was 5 weeks old when I matriculated into the nursing program, and that was the associate degree program. I had to be in clinical at 7 a.m. And after I was done there, I had to go to work. I worked in medical records, and my shift would end at 12 midnight. And then the next day would start over. So I had a wonderful person that would help me with my middle kid. Mom would help with the oldest, and then the babysitter helped with the middle kid. And so the infant, actually. So from that, I don't know how I could have made it without the support of others. You've heard it takes a village. It does take a village to raise kids. And oftentimes, once we reach a certain pinnacle in our lives, sometimes we can get selfish. I got mine, you get yours. But we're to give back. God wants us to remember that where we came from. Remember your roots, and remember what propelled you to the next level. And it was other people that supported me, that helped me, not maybe financially, but babysitting my infant. That's a tremendous help. And so my passion is to help single mothers, and I'm to encourage them to better themselves. I sometimes have patients they're working as CNAs, certified nursing assistants, and I would encourage them to go back to school, and some have gone back. And I will let them know, well, this is my number. If you need any assistance, I can navigate you through the system, and I'm here to assist you. So sometimes you just need to reach out to others. So yeah, I do have a passion for helping, because once you've traveled that path, you'll never forget it. So my husband tends to oftentimes he thinks I oftentimes give too much. But if you walked in my shoes, you would know how difficult life had been, especially had I not had the support of others. And there was another question you had asked. What was that,
Yeah.
Jeffrey?
Yes, it was about the first lady and the first lady's uh, helpfulness in the church.
Okay, so as the first lady, you bear a lot of responsibilities. One is to support your helpmate to your husband. And I love helping people, so that has never been a problem for me. I'm not a jealous person, so I'm not one to look over his shoulders when he's counseling people. You can't be that kind of wife. But I do a lot of things in the church. I implement programs like Vacation Bible School. We had a food pantry. It's closed now because of COVID for now. And so there are other programs. We give away clothing. We do counseling. I do referrals. I do a lot of different types of educational programs on diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disorders, problems that really plague people of color. I tend to zero in on. So I do a lot of educational things to help the community. Um, I teach Sunday school, I pay bills, I clean, just because you're the first lady doesn't mean you can't go in and clean the bathroom. So I've done my share of that too. So whatever is needed, the scripture said, whatever you find your hands to do, then do it. And don't do it grudgingly. And pretty much that's what we do. We have this coming Saturday, we have a giveaway. We'll be giving away clothing. So getting my support together, grandkids, my sons, will come out and help us set up so we can be of service to the community. It's about service to humanity. So I play a number of roles. If my husband needs a letter, I'm his secretary. So I'm the, get that letter out. When we get in donations, honey, did you get that letter out? That thank you letter out. So yeah, so I wear a lot of different hats, and I am happy to do so. I am his helpmate. The scripture says, "He who finds a wife findeth a good thing, and God gives you favor." And God has definitely granted me favor. And I looked that scripture up. That's in Proverbs 18:22. If you care to review it.
Yes, ma'am. That is excellent. Um, there's only one more thing that I'd really like for you to share, because this is big. How? What are some of the traits that are needed to be able to overcome the obstacles that you did being a single mother and get into a field, and then once you're in there, what are some of the things you need to do in order to sustain yourself, especially when you become a wife and a mother?
Okay. What are some of the things you do to overcome obstacles? And God knows I face many obstacles. So first of all, if before let's talk about before you get married, because I had two children before I married, and I didn't always have the support that I needed, but God always made a way. And so one thing for sure, I encourage the young people: listen to your parents, be obedient. Oftentimes we've reached a certain age and you feel that you're now grown and adult and you don't want to take orders. Well, when that happens, then you need to exit, because generally, a mother like mine is not going to tolerate it. So once you leave the home, then you get to know what being an adult is all about, because now you're responsible for paying bills. So you have to get a job. If you don't have a job, you have to find some way of supporting yourself. I say get an education. I was an adult learner. I was a non-traditional student. What does that mean? I didn't go to college right out of high school. I went to college when I was 23. And when I completed the first program, I was 27 when I graduated the first time. Worked several years, and then another 10 years, I had finished the second program. So I worked about that, mostly part-time after I married. I work part-time and raise the kids and supported my husband in the ministry as well. So you want to get an education. Now, if you're one of those students or one of those children, male or female, that left home prematurely before you really became mature, and you now discovered, I need to go back to school. I need to better myself. I need to make a living. I need to make a meaningful living. Then you need to get back in school. Start at a community college. Start at a community college. They have loans. I borrowed $4,500, which was all I needed. And oftentimes the school will offer some assistance. So if it's something you want to do, and even churches will help you. If it's something you want to do, there is help out there. So I started by taking a course or two. I started by taking psychology, English 101, sociology, and then I thought this was going to take forever. So then I just jumped right in full time and started making headway. And I started seeing myself progressing. I would say, as I had mentioned previously to others, you don't want to take two sciences at the same time. So the curriculum is set for you. First semester, fundamentals, and then a lot of electives. Second semester, surgical nursing, a lot of electives, including some sciences, human anatomy, physiology, microbiology. So all that is set for you in terms of what you should take. So I can help you navigate that. I would say to you, well, this is what you should take first. I wouldn't take that right now. I'd take that and I take statistics later or maybe during the summer type of thing. So I can help you navigate that. Knowing the profession, and I've gone through it, I think I would be very instrumental in helping a person or people get through the program. I know how to navigate the system. There's some things people may leave out that I could bring to mind, to assist you. So do something with yourself. Get an education so you can have a better life, and start at a community college because this is affordable education. As I said, I owed $4,500 when I finished the first time. When I finished my bachelor's, I owed another $4,500. I paid off that first $4,500 when I graduated, when I started working. I brought that second $4,500 when I finished my bachelor's. And when I finished my master's, I owed nothing. I got into a master's program that gave out stipends for people that had bachelors that wanted to go back and become nurse practitioners. And my colleagues, they had $80,000 in school debt from the University of Rochester. I had zero debt when it came to school loans. So there's a way that we can make this happen. So you want to better yourself. You can look at another person's life and say, oh, she's really living well, but you don't know the story. We all come with history. So get an education, start at a community college, get through school, and hang with people that's doing something. Hang with like-minded people. That's very important, because when I was in nursing school, I was hanging with nursing students, teachers that had gone back into nursing. They were getting 4.0s. They were already teachers. So that's who I was studying with. I was studying with the teachers. You know what I'm saying? So get into a study group. And if you want help, there's help out there for you. It's all for the asking. And even when it comes to babysitting, I've helped people with their children. As I said, I know what it's all about. I know what it's like. So you can do better. You can do better. And in New York State, I think they tend to take care of their people pretty well. It's not difficult to get a 2-year degree. It really isn't. And once you become an RN, I didn't care how hard I worked. I loved it. I didn't complain about the workload. I didn't complain. It was such a hard day. I loved every moment of it. So it's rewarding. And in terms of the financial gain, it's a good profession. It pays much better now than it paid when I first started. But I was still making a couple more dollars more than I was making when I was working in medical records. So it was still, I was still going uphill. And certainly once I became a nurse practitioner, you're going to make 90 to 6 figures easily. If you live in California, you're going to make a whole lot more than that. If you work in New York City, you're going to make a whole lot more than that. So it depends on where you live.
That is outstanding, and that is great information. I feel so bad sometimes when I go through Facebook and I see some of they're adults now, but they were students that were with me when I was an assistant principal in school, and I see them out there and they're flashing all this money and they're flashing guns and flashing drugs and all this type of thing, but they're not doing anything for their future, not understanding that all
Mhm.
this all this perpetrating on social media is not going to help you. It's not going to help you at all. If you want to flash something, flash those credentials when you graduate from college with that nursing degree. You know what I mean? That's what you want to flash. So I am so glad that I can have
Mhm.
someone like you here today to help people understand how to go about attaining that type of degree and being successful in that career field. And I can't thank you enough.
Well, you're very welcome. I've enjoyed our conversation. I hope something I said was helpful to someone that's trying to better their lives, something that someone that wants to do better for themselves. And oftentimes people think, I'm just an ordinary person, but God can take ordinary people to do extraordinary things. He can mold and make you into anything He wants, and He definitely can use your service to service others. So thank you for having me.
All right. Well, everyone, it's once again the Common Unity Podcast, and I thank you for coming and spending this time with us here today. You could have been anywhere in the world doing anything you wanted to do, but instead you came and spent that time with us, and I am so grateful. So I want to say to you, positive times, positive vibes only. Keep your head up, and thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. This is Sandra Jones, co founder of Community Podcasts. I'd like to say thank you to all our listeners and viewers. We're asking for positive vibes only. Thank you and have a great day.